Hey, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel for another Saturday live stream. We are chugging along in the Bible, and we are in Job now. We will be covering chapters 1 through 5, and yeah, today we're doing with friends like these who needs enemies. Um, and if you know anything about the book of Job, you'll know what I'm talking about. But let's go ahead and get on with the book of Job. And oh, I did want to tell you yesterday, sorry I didn't come on. I'm going to try to come on again today to do what I wanted to do yesterday, but we'll we'll see. Um I had such a migraine yesterday that I couldn't even get out of bed. It was that bad. So, sorry. I I mean, I could not even get myself to open up my laptop to change the daytime, whatever. Okay, so anyway, now that that's out of the way, um, and we will get going with Saturday live stream. Okay, um, chapter 1. In the land of Uz, there lived a name. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. Okay, so we don't know exactly where Uz was. I did not mean to make that rhyme. But anyway, um, however, um, we think it's somewhere either in Syria or Jordan. That's what we think, but we don't know. Um, all right. Moving on. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. Well, that's strange considering Tanakh says no one's righteous. Well, I wouldn't say Tanakh says that. Um, certainly in the New Testament does, but that's Paul's writing. And if you know me, you know I hate Paul. I think I forgot to show this. Hang on. Oh, yeah, I did. So, just a sec. Let me bring it up. Let me share my screen. Okay. Now let's see if you can see it, and you can. Um, because there are a few places in the Tanakh where it says people were righteous. David was a man after God's own heart, and he committed the M word, you know, 6 letter M word. So, yeah, I would say that's after God's own heart. Noah was righteous, so, anyway, moving on. Verse 2. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. Somehow I doubt that, but okay. Verse 4. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, "Perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's, regular custom. Uh, okay. Not quite sure why. Hey, Whist! Not quite sure why he would think that his sons and daughters would, um, quote unquote, sin against God during their feasting. And furthermore, I have no idea why he thought he could make intercession for them, considering this was the very first book of the Bible that was written chronologically. And of course, there was no nation of Israel at this time. So, moving on. That's because everyone would call the kid Job. Just having, imagine naming your kid Job and everyone calls him Job. Plus, your kid probably isn't going to be very happy about it. But at any rate, let's say there is a kid named Job out there. He's probably not going to want to go by Job, right? Because he knows he's going to be called Job. So he's probably going to want to go by his other name or another name besides Job, right? Like, hey, Job, what you doing? And so anyway, yeah. So um, hey, Limited. Well, the first one would be Joby. I actually think that's a Spanish name, or Hobie, rather, if it's Spanish. The other one would be Joab. And Joab is a name used today. It's okay. Gotta have some nonsense in here. All right, moving on. Even though it's not going to be very tedious today, verse 6. One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Okay, so um, first of all, um, notice that Satan presents himself with the angels of the Lord. And by the way, this is not the Christian idea of Satan. Okay, this is the Jewish Satan. And the Jewish incarnation of Satan is Satan does what God tells him to do. There's nothing Satan does that God does not allow him to do and does not tell him to do. Um, yeah, right. So just keep that in mind. Um, in Christianity, Satan's kind of like this evil god, and they get that from Zoroastrianism, where there's a good god and an evil god. But in the Jewish tradition, there's only one God, and that one God must allow Satan to do whatever it is he does. And keep in mind that Satan is a title, not a name. Remember, we talked about that in, I think it was Numbers. You know, when Balaam was going to his king to curse the Israelites, and the angel was standing in the way, and the angel, um, his title was Satan. So is not exactly this may not be the Christian Satan, which is like Lucifer or whatever, you know. So keep that in mind too. All right, moving on. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Okay, so keep in mind that it is God who says, yo, why don't you just fuck with my servant Job? Keep in mind that it's God that says that. So glad I don't worship this God anymore. Why don't you fuck with my servant Job? Thank you so much, God. I really wanted Satan to fuck with me. Yeah, real nice guy, that God. All right, moving on. Verse 9. Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied. Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. Verse 12. The Lord said to Satan, very well then, everything he has is in your power. But on the man himself do not lay a finger. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. So basically, God's saying, okay, Satan, you can fuck up everything he's got. You just can't touch him. Yeah, really, Wist. Way to fuck with people's lives, God. You know, before my dad died, when he had cancer, I was his sole caregiver, which I didn't mind. I knew how to take care of him. And and I was honored to take care of him in the last months of his life. But it was hard for me because I wanted to take all that pain from him. It was harder for me to see my dad suffer than for me to suffer. I would rather me suffer than any of my loved ones. I would rather me suffer than any of my loved ones. So God definitely was not doing Job any favors. Yes, it was Wist. Okay, moving on. Verse 13. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabaeans attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, the fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, yet another messenger came. Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, and suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them and they are dead, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. Yeah, sure. I really, really believe that. Of course, I don't believe that. It's hyperbole. Not that this happened anyway, but even if it had happened, it would be hyperbole. Okay, limited. All right, moving on. Verse 20. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground and worshiped and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. Verse 22. In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Why not? God did do the wrongdoing because, according to this belief system, God has to allow Satan to do what Satan does. And so ultimately, it's his fault. Ultimately, everything is his fault. If you subscribe to this belief system. Moving on. Chapter 2. On another day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him, blameless, a man who fears God and shuns evil, and he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason." So you admit that you wanted to ruin him without any good reason, and Satan didn't incite you. You're supposed to be all powerful. Anyway, moving on. Verse 4. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life. But now stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, Very well then, he is in your hand, but you must spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die. He replied, You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Verse 11. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. And this is where it really gets fucked up. Just so you know. All right, moving on. By the way, um, sometimes I get hives on my feet. Well, I mean, I'll get hives anywhere, but they are particularly bad when they're on your feet. Anything is particularly bad when they're on your feet. I am not even kidding you. Everything is like 10 times worse if it's on your foot. But anyway, moving on. Um, verse 12. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Chapter 3. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. He said, "May the day of my birth perish, and the night that said, a boy is conceived. That day may it turn to darkness. May God above not care about it. May no light shine on it. May gloom and utter darkness claim it once more. May a cloud set over it. May blackness overwhelm it. That night may thick darkness seize it. May it not be included among the days of the year, nor be entered in any of the months. May that night be barren. May no shout of joy be heard in it. May those who curse days curse that day. Those who are ready to rouse Leviathan. May its morning stars become dark. May it wait for daylight in vain and not see the first rays of dawn. For it did not shut the doors of the womb on me to hide trouble from my eyes. Why did I not perish at birth and die as I came from the womb? Why were there knees to receive me, and breasts that I might be nursed? For now I would be lying down in peace. I would be asleep and at rest with kings and rulers of the earth, who built for themselves palaces now lying in ruins, with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or why was I not hidden away in the ground like a stillborn child, like an infant who never saw the light of day? There the wicked cease from turmoil, and there the weary are at rest. Captives also enjoy their ease. They no longer hear the slave drivers shout. Verse 19. The small and the great are there, and the slaves are freed from their owners. Why is light given to those in misery, and life to the bitter of soul, to those who long for death that does not come, who search for it more than for hidden treasure, who are filled with gladness and rejoice when they reach the grave? Why is life given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For sighing has become my daily food, my groans are poured out like water. What I feared has come upon me. What I dreaded has happened to me. I have no peace, no quietness. I have no rest, only turmoil. Chapter 4. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, if someone ventures a word with you, will you be impatient? But who can keep from speaking? Think how you have instructed many, how you have strengthened feeble hands. Your words have supported those who stumbled. You have strengthened faltering knees. But now trouble comes to you, and you are discouraged. It strikes you, and you are dismayed. Should not your piety be your confidence, and your blameless ways your hope? Consider now who, being innocent, has ever perished. Where were the upright ever destroyed? As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it. At the breath of God they perish. At the blast of his anger they are no more. The lions may roar and growl, yet the teeth of the great lions are broken. The lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. A word was secretly brought to me, my ears caught a whisper of it. Amid disquieting dreams in the night, when deep sleep falls on people, fear and trembling seized me and made all my bones shake. A spirit glided past my face, and the hair on my body stood on end. It stopped, but I could not tell what it was. A form stood before my eyes, and I heard a hushed voice. Can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can even a strong man be more pure than his Maker? If God places trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who live in the houses of clay, whose foundations are in the dust, who are crushed more readily than a moth? Between dawn and dusk they are broken to pieces, unnoticed, they perish forever. Are not the cords of their tent pulled up, so that they die without wisdom? Call if you will, but who will answer you? All right, before we go to chapter 5, yeah, tell me about it, List. All right, chapter 5, people, the last one. Here we go. Chapter 5. To which of the holy ones will you turn? Hmm. Holy ones meaning angels or holy ones being gods? Usually, when the Bible refers to holy ones plural, it's talking about angels, but whatever. Moving on. Verse 2. Resentment kills a fool, and envy slays the simple. Why does this feel like the book of Proverbs right now? I myself have seen a fool taking root, but suddenly his house is cursed, his children are far from safety, crushed in court without a defender. The hungry consume his harvest, taking it even from among thorns, and the thirsty pant after his wealth, for his for hardship does not spring from the soil, nor does trouble sprout from the ground. Oh really? So God didn't curse the ground for man's sake after Adam sinned? That's interesting. Verse 7. Yet man is born to trouble, as surely as sparks fly upward. Yeah, and what do you think that is? Why do you think that is? If there is a God, why would his most precious possession be born to trouble? Doesn't make much sense, does it? Anyway, moving on. Verse 8. But if I were you, I would appeal to God. I would lay my cause before him. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, miracles that cannot be counted. He provides rain for the earth. He sends water on the countryside. Um, no, that would be the water cycle. The lowly he sets on high, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. Okay, if you say so. He thwarts the plans of the crafty so that their hands achieve no success. Really? So, I guess this dude would deny all the wars that have ever happened. Verse 13. He catches the wise in their craftiness, and the schemes of the wily are swept away. Yeah, not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. Verse 14. Darkness comes upon them in the daytime. At noon they grope it as in the night. He saves the needy from the sword in their mouth. Uh, nope. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Too many people die of starvation. He saves them from the clutches of the powerful. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. So the poor have hope. Sometimes they do. And injustice shuts its mouth. Um, no, just no. Uh, Injustice is injustice, and sometimes there is no. Sometimes there is no justice to be had. It's just the way the world works. Get over it. Verse 17. Blessed is the one whom God corrects. Okay, if you say so. So do not despise the discipline of the Almighty. Mm, well, if it's from this fucking book, yeah, I'll despise it all I want because nothing in this fucking book ever makes any sense. Verse 18. For he wounds, but he also binds up. He injures, but his hands also heal. From 6 calamities, he will rescue you. In 7, no harm will touch you. So basically, this idiot's saying, God lets bad things happen to you, so he come in on his white horse to rescue you. That's what he's saying. Um, how about no calamities happen at all? That'd be a lot better, don't you think? Verse 20, in famine he will deliver you from death. Tell that to everyone who dies from hunger, okay? And in battle from the stroke of the sword. No, not even. Verse 21, you will be protected from the lash of the tongue and need not fear when destruction comes. Verse 22, you will laugh at destruction and famine and need not fear the wild animals, for you will have a covenant with the stones of the field. Stones are not sentient, so yeah, that is correct, but not in the way you're talking about. And the wild animals will be at peace with you. You will know that your tent is secure. You will take stock of your property and find nothing missing. You will know that your children will be many and your descendants like the grass of the earth. You will come to the grave in full vigor like sheaves gathered in season. We have examined this and it is true. So hear it and apply it to yourself. Oh boy. How many lies did that chapter have? Or, excuse me, those chapters have, but especially the last chapter. I lost count. What a fucking train wreck. That's all I gotta say. What a fucking train wreck. So, anyway, that's how Job begins. Wasn't that just lovely? Wasn't that just lovely? Exactly, Wist, exactly. Start off with God just suggesting to Satan, "Hey, why don't you go fuck up my servant Job? You just can't touch him." And then Satan comes back, "Well, you said I couldn't touch him. But I'm going to tell you, a man will give up everything for his own life." God says, "Okay, you can touch him, but you can't take his life." And Job's probably like, "Can I just please die already?" Yeah, with according to the Jewish faith, that's what Satan's for. Satan does God's bidding. Period. He's not independent. Anyway, um, that's gonna be it for right now. Um, like I said, I had such a migraine yesterday. I couldn't even get out of bed. Um, so I did not do a live stream yesterday. Uh, so I may be on later on today. Uh, excuse me. Just depends. Um, at any rate, um, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will either see you later on today or I will see you tomorrow. Alrighty. And don't forget, God likes to fuck with your life. At least this God does. Not that I believe in this God, but anyway. Alrighty. Bye, everyone. Take care.